You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 5th day of November, 2020. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. If you can't see the screen I have up, go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that's the last time you'll have to register. You'll get an email before the show each day that has a link. Click the link, join the show with one-click access. On the days you're out of the office or away from your desktop, not to worry, just point any internet-connected browser to cfrn.net/live, and there you'll find a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds. You just won't have access to the chat box. We also stream live during the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Well, let's open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we pray today that you would make us a great nation, but more than that, make us good. Make us good, Lord, with a heartbeat that wants every person of every creed and color to know your love, to know your goodness, to know your worth. Make us wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. Turn our fears to faith as we look to you and you alone for the future of our country. Give us, God, confidence that no matter what happens, we will believe you are not only in control, but that you know exactly what is needed to accomplish your purpose. Help us to not second guess your moves, but to move at your command without hesitation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Well, and happy Thursday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thursday.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you the numbers from around the world. These are the cash markets, the indices. Dow currently up 498 points. NASDAQ up 273. S&P 500 up 68. And the Russell 2000 up 42. Now, for the Russell, that's 2.5%. NASDAQ almost 2.5%. 2% for the S&P. And almost 2% for the Dow. In the commodity basket, crude oil down 47 cents. Gold up $52.10. Silver up $1.21. Now remember, guys, when silver moves $1 in price, if you're holding a futures contract, it's worth $5,000 per dollar of movement in the price of silver. Margins are high, 18 grand. However, you all know my thoughts on silver. We'll see $50 silver before we see $4,000 gold. For gold to double, it needs to go to 4 grand. For silver to double, it needs to go to 50 bucks. Bullish on both, but more bullish on silver. For a lot of reasons that we've discussed on the show here. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of 410 points. Shanghai rose 42. The Hang Seng added 809. That's over 3%. In the European markets at the close, the FTSE was up 22 points. The DAX up 243 points. The CAC up 61. Now for the DAX, that's a gain of 2%, and the CAC's a gain of more than 1%. So we have, in this post-election world, a green day in Asia, a green day in the UK, and it's a big green Radio Thursday here in the US of A. Let's go to Michael, get a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. Michael, if you're ready, you can take it away.
I am ready. I am ready. Let me grab this and that and not that. Hang on. This. Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Locked and loaded. Take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, the 5th day of November, 2020. Today, as I'll show you, we started out really choppy, but it did get better. But today made 26 ticks in the euro, 4 ticks in crude. We broke even in gold, and we made 27 ticks on the ES. That put us up 540 on the morning session. Today it took 29 minutes and 6 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $115 a contract, and we took a total of 12 trades today. On the month now, we're at 2,082. That's over 4 trading days, averaging $520 per contract per trading day. And we are now at our 182nd consecutive trading day of getting a goal. And on the year now, we're at $89,771. That's over 207 trading days, averaging $433 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Okay. Now, if you are not part of the CFRN family and you want to become part of the CFRN family, go to the home page at EminiFuturesTrading.com, EminiFuturesTrading.com, and just follow the instructions. We've made it easy and affordable for you. Just gotta follow the instructions there. Okay. Yeah, let me scroll back. We only had a couple of trades here on gold today. We only had a couple of trades here on gold today. And they were both break even, one there and one there. Now, that's not to say that there weren't more that triggered, but there was a lot of chop in gold today. And so I wasn't giving it too much attention. Okay, there was a long that triggered right here at 1032. A short that triggered right here at 1038. Then we got all this chop. And it started to break out of it. And I was looking for trade setups in here and over here, but we didn't end up with any. And that was it for the morning session for gold. You know, there were more trades during the break. One right here. One right here. One over here. But that was all during the break. So we ended up break even after 2 trades on gold today. On the euro, we had just a couple of trades. The first one was right here. We picked up 20 ticks on the first one. We missed that one. And we picked up 6 ticks on the second one right there. Then during the break, it looks like there was a trade right here that would have been a break even. And that was it. So the euro was, well, you see all this chop in here. There was a shorting opportunity right there. It would have been a break even. Yeah. I don't know. I was reading the DOM when I got into that 120 tick trade, and it suggested it was going to go down. And boy, did it. It went down really fast. Okay. This is crude oil. Now on crude, on the first trade right here, we picked up 4 ticks. We missed that one. There was one more trade somewhere where we had a break even. I don't know where it is. It was somewhere where we had a break even trade. But that was crude. You know, the ES, the total immediate volume in the 10 closest bids and asks is under 1,000 right now on the ES, and it was really low at some points today. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a lot of volume. It just means you're going to have a lot of volatility. Okay, and so on the ES, let's get back to the very beginning. Okay, Dwayne. On the ES, we started out right here, and on our first trade, looks like we picked up 2 ticks, just 2 ticks on that one. I was really hoping to get the goal for the day on the first trade, but it didn't happen. Then it got really choppy in here. You see all this? Really choppy. Hang on. Gonna move that. Do that. Okay. There was a short opportunity right here that wouldn't have worked out at all that I missed. There was a long over here that I ended up getting a break even on. A short here where I picked up 4 ticks to put me at +6. And then go on charts. You see, it got really choppy a lot of times today. And finally, we had a long here that I picked up 8 ticks on. Okay, and that put me at +14. Then over here, we had a long there that I missed, and then a follow-up long right there that I got 4 more ticks on, I think. Yeah, 4 more ticks put me at +18. And then I had one more trade, this one here. I got 9 ticks to put me at +27 on the morning session. So that was over 5 trades. During the break, look how choppy it was here during the break. I mean, I saw this starting to happen. And I'm seeing right now it wants to drop down to 34.95. It's got a pullback area up at 98.75. But here comes 34.95 right now. See how choppy it was. But what I've been doing in the room in the morning, if you haven't been there in a while, is trying to go over all the stuff that I normally just think. And I trade the indicators and I read the DOMs, and like I'm sticking with that 34.95 number, but the pullback area, like I said, is up at 98.75. So we don't have a trade set up here, right here. But those are the places that the market wants to go right now. If we did have a trade set up, then we would execute on that trade setup. And here it is, 34.95. And then some. I think it still wants to go down. 34.90 probably. But we just don't have a trade set up down here in the slingshot right now. So, Dwayne said he needed 5 minutes. So does anybody have any questions about anything? Anybody? Okay, Dwayne says he's back. All right. So with that, we can pass it back out. Wait, let me go over the spreadsheet again one more time. Give Dwayne a minute to sit down. All right. So here we go. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 5th day of November, 2020. We made 26 ticks in the euro, 4 ticks in crude, and 27 ticks on the ES. Put us at +540 per contract per 2-hour window on the morning session. Today took 29 minutes and 6 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're at $115 a contract. We took a total of 12 trades. So on the month now, we're at 2,082. That's over 4 trading days, averaging $520 per contract per 2-hour trading day. I've now gone 182 consecutive days getting my goal. And on the year now, we're $89,771. That's over 207 trading days, averaging $433 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Yeah, if you have not become part of the CFRN family yet, and you want to, go to EminiFuturesTrading.com, EminiFuturesTrading.com, and just choose one or the other and become a partner. And then you'll get everything that we have, everything we have to give. Okay. Now, with that, We can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, South Mountain. I mean, over Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready, you can take it back. Keep in mind, guys, that this afternoon we have FOMC at 2 p.m. Okay. That may be part of what's contributing to this choppiness.
We don't anticipate any change in the interest rate. However, everyone will be listening carefully to any changes in policy. Because the Fed's got a lot to think about right now. He's got a new boss, may have a new boss. If any of the evidence I've seen on the internet is real about the massive voter fraud that has gone on, I don't know what, I guess it goes to the Supreme Court to make some kind of decision. I mean, I saw voting records this morning that showed a guy who died in 1984. One of our guys posted it. Where did he post that? I think it's right here. Let me see. Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't ask to even see my ID when I went and voted.
118-year-old William Bradley voted via absentee ballot in Wayne County, Michigan. William Bradley died in 1984. Now, because this is a picture of somebody's Twitter feed, I can't click that link. It's not a live link, so I can't click it. So I haven't been able to go and see it myself, but it was posted by someone that I have a great deal of trust in. So, I mean, then that's just one example. I mean, I've seen stuff everywhere. You know, some states, more people voted than there are, according to the census. More people voted in some states than actually live in the state that are age 18 and over. There's all kinds of stuff. So it's a shame, but anyway, recap of the recap.
Today it took 29 minutes and 6 trades to get to $115 a contract.
Good job.
Okay.
Now, for those of you that were in the room this morning watching, that's what we do every day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Michael teaches you our trading strategy, how to read the chart, how to read the indicators, the trade setup itself, trade management, everything you need to know about what we do and how we do it. If you like the results that we get and you want those results and you want to go down the path we go down to get to it, then that's where you learn it every morning, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Now, as Michael gives you these trade setups and shows them to you on the chart in the morning, around the clock, starting Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern until Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm in the background scanning the markets, sending out alerts in the Logic 247 channel. We use Telegram as our instant messaging client. Doesn't cost you anything. It's fast. There's no advertising. Put it on your phone, put it on your tablet, put it on your PC or your Mac. Now, the criteria for me to issue an alert in Logic 247 is whenever opportunity presents itself. Let me show you where we're at on the week so far. This is week 118 through 11:45 a.m. this morning. We've issued a total of 58 alerts this week. 12 never triggered. Still waiting on 4. That gave us 42 actionable alerts. 5 of those were stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract per trade, less when possible, using the 3-step method I teach all of our traders, which is based on market structure. So 12% of actionable alerts stopped out on that criteria, but that's not a typical number. What we've averaged over the last 118 weeks is 20%. So we're having a good week. That's 58 individual alerts. Now I'll show you, understand what I'm talking about. This is the Logic 247 channel. Okay. And scrolling. How you read them, as an example. This is the ES. B is buy. S is sell. T is initial target. WTZ is weekly trading zone. So you've got an entry, an initial target, and a final target. This one was worth $987.50 per contract traded. There was a crude trade, buy at 37.10, initial target 37.20, potential resistance 37.30, weekly trading zone 37.55. It's $1,200 per contract traded. There's a silver alert, $300 per contract traded. So these come, you never know when your phone's going to make that little sound. Dee-dee-dee. Now, you should never trade an alert just because it's an alert. You need to be in the right frame of mind. You need to be able to get to your computer. You need to be able to see your chart. You need to be able to see the trade, okay? Last week, week 117, we had 45 total alerts, 4 never triggered, 41 actionable. 12% of those stopped out, so it was an abnormal week last week, 12% instead of 20. And then this past Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, that's when we open for business, and we trade around the clock until Friday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern. Mike asked, is the edited time when the alert was first issued? No. That's when Valerie goes in and does the recap. If you hover over it, yeah, it takes it a minute. See, it was issued Sunday, November 1st at 4:05 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Telegram reads the clock on your computer. So if you look at this exact same thing and you live on the East Coast, it's going to show 6:05 p.m. because of the difference in time zones. It's real important that everybody understand that. Now, 8 months out of the year, I'm on Pacific time because Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time. 4 months out of the year, I'm on God's time, Mountain Standard, what he originally intended when he set up the time zones. But now, I've got this is like my 4-month vacation because instead of the market opening at 6:30 a.m. my time, it opens at 7:30 a.m. my time. So, you just click, hover. It'll show you when it was published, anytime, and so Valerie has to go in and edit them. So, good question. Thank you very much, Mike. It's important that everybody understand, we don't do the woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff. Just like Michael puts on and takes off trades right in front of you during the live training room while he's teaching you, you're seeing it happen, you're trading along with him. Same with the alerts. The alerts come out before they trigger. I try my best to make sure there's about a minimum of about 15 minutes from the time you get the alert on your phone, your tablet, or your PC till price gets to the trigger. Now, that 15 minutes sometimes can turn into 4 hours. And on rare occasions, it might trigger a little sooner than that. But for the most part, you'll always have time to get to your computer. And so this is everything that we've done this week, week 118, so far. The recap that I just showed you, that's this. Okay, thumbs up means we got the target. This was silver, that was 550 per contract. It's 200 per contract on the NQ. Z's means it never triggered. 340 per contract on the Dow. No trigger, no trigger. 70 bucks on gold. YM, $1,800 per contract traded. Silver, 175 per contract traded. You get the idea. And this takes us into November 2nd, which is Monday. All of this happened Sunday night. Most of the world's waiting for the Wall Street open Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. But we're busy, busy, busy. Now, having the first two stop out back to back is unusual, but it's the truth about trading. You have to have enough faith in your definable edge that if that's the way it comes out, then you can't be gun shy with the third one. So there's a $300 stop out, $300 stop out, and then gold, 680 per contract traded. 680, so call it a wash. So now there's 200, 750, 950, 1250, 1300, 1300, that's a tricky one, 3100, 3200, 4200. It's like about 4500. That's if you traded everything and you got the two stop outs and you stayed into the final target, which a lot of our traders won't do. A lot of our traders just get their 2 points for the day and gone. You can build a very good business on 2 points a day. You simply increase the number of contracts traded with profit you earn in the market. So again, the recap this week so far, everything you just saw that's published live in real time before it happens. 58 total alerts, 42 actionable, 5 stopped out, 12%. Now, these alerts, the Logic 247 alerts, are based on current price action. What's happening right here, right now. We have another type of alert. It's called the Concierge Trade Alert. We've been publishing them over 7 years. Did a 3-year public beta in Twitter before we took it live as a product. These do not come out one at a time based on current price action. These are based on historic price action. The Concierge Trade Alerts come out once per session, right after the Globex Open. Last night I got them out at 6:45 p.m. Eastern. The way you handle these, as soon as they come out, you go to your chart, draw a line at 3468, draw a line at 3403. Everything in between is the market making up its mind for what it's going to do. Logic 247 will typically provide you with alerts that walk you right up to this big number or walk you down to this number. If price reaches 34.68, we want to be long or only looking for longs above that. If price hits 34.03, we want to be short and or only looking for short trades. So if you want to grab a screenshot of this, it's very easy to do with the snipping tool. Just hold down the left mouse button, drag it across, and bingo. You got it. All right, so we'll go through these. Ryan asks, how many Logic 247 setups happen per day on average? On average, we'll say 10. We've got this week so far 58, or I think that's what I just said. I think the biggest week we ever had was 100. I think the smallest week we ever had was 30. So it's probably a little more than 50. It's probably closer to 60, probably at 60. But again, it's dependent upon opportunity presenting itself. If there's no opportunity, then there's no alert. All the alerts in the logic channel are trend trades as defined by a 30-minute chart. Now, counter trend trades, they're not bad, they're not illegal, immoral, or fattening, but they don't give, in my opinion, the same high degree of probability that a trend trade does. I simply like to know that I got that bullish wind at my back or that bearish wind at my back when I go long or short. Now, often in the discussion group, I will point out to our traders that a counter trend is taking place, but I don't encourage you to trade them, but you're welcome to trade them if you want to. Some people specialize in them and do really well. But because most of the folks who come to us are either brand new to trading, or most of the people who come to us are beaten up, broken down, and so it's important for me to give you the highest probability, lowest risk opportunities that I can find. I sit here as I monitor the charts, all right, I want to put something out because I know you guys are sitting out there waiting, but until something meets the criteria, I can't put it out. Let's look at the daily chart of the S&P 500. Okay, this is the all-time historic high put in on September the 3rd by one tick higher than the previous day. Okay, and then when price pulled back to the BBC, failed to hold, we got a bearish cross, so we got a leg, a retracement to the BBC, a down close, and it took us to the 24% fib. Now this fib was measured from the bottom of the pandemic low to the recovery high, to the new all-time high. So this is the 24% fib. It came down, we bounced off of it, went back to the BBC, we got on the north side, ran out of gas right here. So I drew this trend line, and I mentioned it this morning in the discussion group. As price was approaching that trend line, I made sure everybody was aware of it, because I didn't want you putting on any additional long trades on the S&P until we get on the other side of that trend line. And that's about it for the daily chart. Well, there's two options here. We take out this swing high, and then the only obstacle we have in our path is the all-time historic high. So that opportunity could look something like 35.50 to 35.76. Now, if price is unable to get past this trend line, then price will come back to the BBC. We expect it to hold. It holds more often than it doesn't. It holds, we'll take another run at these highs. If the pullback fails to hold, then we'll see a repeat. We'll come back down and we'll see if we can overcome that 24% fib. This is the major support, the first major support we're looking at, where we had the bullish cross that led us to the all-time historic high. On the way down, that will be good support. But for now, the market seems to be happy, moving higher. As Michael said, we've got a Fed announcement this afternoon. I'm sure that, given the fact that he doesn't really know who his boss is going to be yet officially, his presentation that he had written for today, there may be a few changes. He may address things differently. He may address the unknown factor. And we'll see what he has to say. Our suggestion, of course, is during the Fed announcement, not just the interest rate announcement, but the 30-minute press conference. He usually does like a prepared speech, and then he takes questions. That could run 30, 45 minutes. Your best position during that time is to simply be flat. Because you never know what the next question is going to be and what the next answer is going to be, and the market can turn on a dime. So sit back, watch the Fed, and then we'll kick it in gear again as we move into the end of the session. And of course, we'll be open. At 5 we close. Well, we don't close, we stay open. But the market closes at 5 p.m. Eastern. The Thursday session will end at 5 p.m. Eastern today. The Friday session will begin tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's how it works. Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, our week starts. As far as alerts go. And it's around the clock till Friday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay? All right, let's go to a 30-minute chart of the S&P. Okay. Now, yesterday, Concierge Trade Alert yesterday was to buy 33.94, sell 33.40. And I spent a lot, if you missed yesterday's show, I spent a lot of time on this chart going over the different triggers. The first trigger, 38 points were available. Second trigger, 14 points were available. Third trigger, 35 points available. Fourth, 86 points available. And then we had two-sided action. There was actually 20 points available on the short side, selling 33.40. Now, last night's alert, the ones that I just showed you, okay, that you just took a screenshot of, these are the ones we're going to talk about now. Long 34.68. Swing high, it's like it's over, let's just say 35.20 minus 34.68. That's 52 points times $50 per point. That's $2,600 per contract traded. That's if you got out at the exact swing high, which if you did, it was by accident or luck, because we don't know a swing high is going to be a swing high till after the fact. Same with the swing low. So what do? Well, we have what's called an exit signal, okay? The step line, typically on a long trade, like here yesterday, see how the step line was on the left side of blue and climbing? This indicator is called CFMA1. I refer to it as blue and climbing or red and falling. This is bullish, this is bearish, okay? See how the step line was on the left side of blue and climbing? That's typically how a long will start out. This one, as you can see, it did start, but because we had this little pullback here, it drug it on the other side. But when the step line is on the right side of blue and climbing, the first red candle that closes below the step line, that is your exit signal. So this closed at 34.97.50. $34.97. Let's try that again. 34.97.50. Exit signal. Now, that will bring us back to a little bit different math. 34.97 minus 34.68. It's 29 S&P points from the published entry to the exit signal. 29 S&P points at $50 per point. It's $1,450 per contract traded. Bullish cross, price pulled away, price pulled back, up close, just like in the live training room. The only difference is I'm on a larger time frame. We use a larger stop here based on market structure. In the live trading room, we risk 8 ticks on every trade. Across the board. Doesn't matter. When you start trading the alerts, I will teach you how to use market structure to evaluate the chart and let the chart tell you where the stop needs to go. And using that method, if you cannot find an entry that allows you to risk $300 or less, then you have to pass and wait for the next trigger. Okay? Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. On these alerts, it's more likely that it will trigger. If it triggers once, it's more likely that it will trigger again than not. So this first trigger here, well, we had one that ran up a point, and then this one took us up to 34.75. So 475, 7 points. And then we got back below the trigger, and this was the move. London Open, okay? For those of you that have never traded the London Open, it's 3 a.m. Eastern, and used to be Globex was a shadow market. Nobody paid it much attention. Certainly, major moves never started or ended during the Globex session. That is no longer the case. Globex is very important today, as these have truly become global markets, and we quite often see major moves begin and end on the Globex session. We have traders around the world, so our day session is their night session and vice versa. But we do have traders on the West Coast stay up to midnight. It's 3 a.m. Eastern. Trade London for an hour or two. You sleep in, you don't have to worry about the opening bell on Wall Street. Okay? Now, let's go to the Dow. Last night's Concierge Trade Alert for the Dow was to be long 27,945. And there's the exit signal at 28091. Well, if we take 28091 minus 7945. 146 points at $5 a point, $730 per contract traded. Now that's not to the swing high, that's just to the exit signal. Okay. All right, silver. The alert said to go long 24.12. When this thing hit 25.12, right here, a $1 move in silver from 24.12 to 25.12. That's worth $5,000 per contract traded. Now, we're very bullish on silver. We're anticipating a run this year from 25 to, well, it may not complete by the end of the year, but it could. Expect to see the price of silver double. A lot of reasons. I won't go into all of them here because I've gone over it many times with you. And Dr. Tom will be coming on here in just a few minutes. Today is Thursday, Dr. Tom Day. So Dr. Tom, if you're in the audience, just put something in the chat box and I'll open up your mic. On the NQ, the alert was to be long 11,888. And here, this would not really qualify as an exit signal because you hadn't really crossed until this candle. So if you got out here, that's okay because you can get right back in here. This initial candle on the NQ, on the initial trigger, ran up to 11,987. 987 minus 888. It's 99 NQ points. This one 30-minute candle right here. 99 points times $20 a point. $1,980 per contract traded. The swing high of this thing was 12,119 minus 11,888. It's 231 points if you got out at the exact swing high, which I'm sure you didn't, times $20 a point. It's $4,620 per contract traded. Now, let's go to the Russell. Russell, last night's Concierge Trade Alert, belong 1621. Again, multiple triggers. This first one took us up to 27.5. So it's 6 points, $50 a point, $300 per contract traded. Price gets back below the trigger. Off we go again. From 21 to 36, that's 15 points. 15 points at $50 a point is $750 per contract traded. And then the swing low here, see it says 1620.2. That means it actually got below the trigger at 1621, so it qualifies. And the swing high on this one was 1656. So 56 minus 21 is 35 Russell points at $50 a point. It's $1,750 per contract traded. Okay, next is crude. The long side for crude was 39.45, which was never touched. And the short side for crude was 38.35, which was not touched. This was the beginning of the Globex session, right? Oh, I haven't reset this chart. Hang on, I keep meaning to do this. I have to do this once a year because of the fact that we don't do daylight savings time. There we go. So all of my charts are East Coast. They're supposed to be East Coast. I think I've got a couple I still haven't changed, like the one I just changed. So the Globex open last night was right there, 1,800 hours. Bottom line, crude never triggered. All right, what do we got left? Gold. It's the only one left. Okay. Last night's Concierge Trade Alert was to be long gold, 1908. Our highest weekly trading zone this week for gold, you're looking at it, 1954/1955. Yes, Dr. Tom, that will be fine. Are you here or not? Okay, so we had a weekly trading zone at 1906/07, and then the highest weekly trading zone, 54.55. The zones are issued every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've been publishing the zones since December 14th of 2009. It creates a beautiful framework for the whole week of trading. When price approaches a weekly trading zone from below, we expect resistance, just like we saw here. The most likely thing is consolidation. Now, when price is falling, we look to the zone as support until proven otherwise. Price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone, either the one overhead or the one below. And we nailed it. So 54 minus 8, 46 points. Gold pays $100 a point, so that's $4,600 per contract traded. Right there, you're looking at it. Now, if you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, well, that changes that number a bit, doesn't it? Let's see. Dr. Tom's texting me. He'll let me know when he, oh, he's here now. Okay. All right. Very good, Dr. Tom. And absolutely, we can keep it to 30 minutes today. Let me find you and get your mic open. Dr. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Guys, we're pretty much done with the recap. We've covered the concierge and the logic, but we'll take another quick run through them and look at the markets real quick. And I'll give you any opportunities that I see shaping up for the afternoon before we close the show today. Well, sir, it's been quite a week.
Yes, it has. I hear some people are using 2020 as a curse word now.
We were just looking at some voter records. Mr. William Bradley, who died in 1984, he sent in his provisional ballot.
Well, that was good of him.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. Hang on. I don't
have
Dwayne, the actual record. What I've got is, this was from Instagram. This guy I know and I trust very much. I haven't been able to verify the rest of it, but basically, turns out 118-year-old William Bradley voted via absentee ballot in Wayne County, Michigan. William Bradley died in 1984. how long has this been going on? And it gives a link, but because this is just an image, that's not a link that I can actually click. But it does look like an official state website address. You want me to send you the charts?
Yes, if you don't mind.
I do not. Okay.
Because I'm going to be writing an article about that. Just real quick, because I've got a lot to cover, but I just want to mention that the voter fraud that I personally know about has been going on since the JFK election.
Did you accept the charts?
I think I did.
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, let me try that again. Can you send me the request again? Maybe I didn't do it right.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there you go. How will this election impact my personal finances? An informed assessment.
Yes. Yes.
We got you.
And just to real quickly finish with the fraud thing. JFK stole the election, or his people, and he may not even know about it. I don't know. They're just so used to stealing things. But Nixon really won that election. And it's been going on ever since, and they've been getting better and better at it. But here's the important point for people to think about. When Trump got elected in 2016, I believe their little evil brain trust went to work full-time, and they've had people working full-time for the last 4 years on creative ways to steal this election. And they've got a many-pronged approach. It's not just the mail-in ballots. It's not just the dead votes. It's the misinformation campaign, the voter suppression, getting their lackeys in the media to discourage people from voting for Trump because there's no way he can win the election and so on. So this is going to be a tough one. But I believe that he has won the election, and we just need to pray that the fraud is exposed and that that justice will be done. That's what I have to say on that subject.
Now, but based on the Constitution, if there appears to be fraud, who determines, okay, there's obvious fraud? I'm thinking that's the Supreme Court.
Well,
Then
it'll be many courts along the way. Okay.
Then what do you do next?
Yeah, if you go back to Bush Gore, that's how my Conservative Truth website got started, because I was sending out daily emails for 6 weeks interpreting court decisions. And first it'll go to the supervisor of elections for the election board or whatever. If they don't rule properly, then it goes to the county court, and then it'll go to the state court, and eventually appeal to the state Supreme Court. And then it'll go federal, and there's several different levels there. The circuit court, the appeals court, and then finally it will go to the Supreme Court. They'll probably fast track a lot of this so that it doesn't drag out forever, because if it's not decided by next January, then the Wicked Witch of the West, Nancy Pelosi, becomes the acting president. It'll just be temporary, but if it's just 30 days, which would probably be the least amount of time that she would be temporary president, that would mean that she has 30 days to sign executive orders that could be hugely damaging to the country. I guarantee you, she's behind, she and some other big money people are behind the effort to, at the very least, drag this out as long as possible. They probably know that they're ultimately not going to win, but if they can just get her in there.
Is that your belief? Do you think Trump ultimately wins this hand?
I do. I think he has won it. Now, whether the courts decide that way, that's a different story. They may rule against him. There's a lot of liberal justices and judges in this country. But the point is, I think their game plan is to put Nancy Pelosi in the big chair for at least a month. And I guarantee she's got a raft of lawyers writing up executive orders for her right now, in case that happens. And she'll just spit out executive orders every day that will reverse real legislation, and then those will have to be litigated. So and we've seen where executive orders, even though they're ultimately proved to be unconstitutional, end up standing just because they've gone on so long, and people got used to them. It's like the gold confiscation. That was an executive order. Congress could have reversed it, but it was a Democrat Congress. And by the time Congress finally weighed in on it, it was, we'd already been taken off the gold standard. So anyway, I've been getting this question that's on the screen here almost nonstop for the last 2 weeks. People say, okay, well, what if Trump wins? What if Biden wins? There's actually it's not binary. There's three distinct possibilities. One that we've just been discussing, which is a protracted election process that eventually gets decided by the courts, but would probably be the most damaging of all. And then whether Trump or Biden get elected. So if I can just kind of zip through this, here's my thinking. People say, how's it possible to know how it's going to affect my pocketbook when we don't know who the winner will be? Well, it's really simple. I consider myself an amateur economic historian. I teach economics in a seminary, but the history part of it, I just done that casually. But I've studied the effects of all different types of events on a variety of economies, going all the way back to the Roman Empire. And while history doesn't always repeat itself, you can certainly learn from it, and many times it does. So basically, I want to talk to you about the way I see it, what will happen in each of these three scenarios, and then, with the understanding that I'm not a prophet. I'm a preacher, but I'm not a prophet, and so I'm just talking from the point of view of somebody who studied this stuff for 45 years. Starting with what we do know, regardless of who gets elected, the stock market will crash on schedule. But that's God's schedule. He knows the end from the beginning. We know that the stock market is hugely overvalued. Amazon is trading, 415 times earnings, and every mutual fund in the country's got Amazon in it. These FANG stocks are all way overvalued, the big tech stocks. And one of the things that could bring them down is the congressional investigation that go forward, at least in the Senate, of how they're censoring people and so on. People are getting very upset at big tech. So they'll probably be the...
but nobody wants to let go of their iPhones.
Oh, yeah. and of course, everybody uses Google. But it's if Congress takes away the protections they have for, they have special protections that no other media type outlet has. And if they take that away, that would hurt them a lot. So in any case, I think stocks are going to go down. Government spending is going to increase, again, no matter who's elected, because of all the fallout from the China virus. It's basically that's,
look at all the
some people
in time we wasted on that impeachment hearing.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, literally, the Democrats did nothing for 4 years except try to take Trump down. I mean,
Yep.
Imagine what this last 4 years might have been like had they chosen to just work together and make the best of it.
Well, yeah, Obama never saw growth more than 2%. And he said, well, that's the new normal. It's just never going to happen. Well, of course not when you're exporting jobs and companies to cheaper tax.
Those jobs are never coming back. What are you going to do? Wave a magic wand? I guess.
And he said manufacturing was never going to come back. Well, Trump proved him wrong on all those counts. He brought back the companies. He had huge, 3 and 4% growth. And just this last quarter, the biggest growth the country's ever had, 31.1%. So you're right. If they hadn't spent all their time just trying to tear him down, then the economic miracles that he worked would have been even greater. And he would have been elected in a landslide because of what he's done for the economy, if it weren't for this act of terrorism on the part of China. You can call it terrorism, you can call it economic warfare, whatever you want to, but they deliberately did it. For a long time, I reserved judgment on that, Dwayne. I thought, well, they could have just been stupid. They could have accidentally released it, but they definitely created it on purpose. It didn't come from bats. It didn't come from wild animals. It was an engineered virus, but maybe it was just accidentally released. But then when you start to see the facts, like the fact that 5 million people were allowed to leave Wuhan, and then they put the quarantine on. Mm-hmm. And guess where those 5 million people went? Mm-hmm. All over the world. They didn't go to other parts of China. They went all over the world. And if you look at the migration patterns, where they went, that's where the worst China virus was. So, to me, it's obvious they did this deliberately. So I wrote an article.
I believe they did that deliberately. But then look what our media did with what they did. They turned from a statistic. Now, if every life lost, even one life lost, it's a tragedy. But I got news for you folks. We're all going to go someday. But even one life lost is tragic from a statistical standpoint. This was no worse than a really, really severe flu season.
Yeah, and it may well turn out to be less, because at least 50% of the deaths that they've reported as being virus deaths weren't at all. Exactly. In other words, people didn't die of the virus, they died with the virus, but they were going to die anyway. Mm-hmm. It's just that they happened to get the virus because they were in a weakened condition, but it wasn't the virus that killed them. So it'll probably be a lower death rate than a bad year of the flu. But in any case, it's been hugely expensive, and so the debt's going to grow, the dollar's going to continue to weaken. But no matter who wins, gold is in a strong bullish posture. We're up like $53 today.
Silver's $1. That's $5,000 per contract traded.
That's a lot for silver. Yes. So this gold bull is happening, and this is a chart here. Look from 2017 on. Absolutely a bull market. Little pullback here, which was to be expected, but we're going to keep going up. I don't want to get into the technicals right now, but just, I think everybody acknowledges that we're in a bull market. But here's the thing. This slugfest that's going to take place for the next few weeks, I hope at the most, maybe next few months, the prize is not a medal or something. It's going to be prosperity for the American people if Trump wins. So I see three scenarios. Trump gets reelected, Biden wins, or what we discussed earlier, protracted contested election in which Nancy Pelosi could actually become
in history.
It has never happened because the longest any election was contested was the one that I participated in 2000, Bush v. Gore. Mm-hmm. But that took 6 weeks. This, I think that there's going to be enough lawsuits on both sides. Trump's going to sue for the fact that they didn't allow Trump observers in for the vote count in many places to observe, but they did allow the Democrats. And we can go on about that. Bottom line is, it's going to be contested. It's being contested, and it could go on for months. So here's what would happen if Biden wins. I think the stock market crash schedule will be moved up. I think it'll happen within a very short time because stocks, people that invest in stocks just don't like socialism. And it's not just the $4 trillion in new tax. I don't know why he thinks that saying, if I win, I'm not going to lower your taxes, I'm going to raise taxes. And that's supposed to be a winning strategy. I don't get it. But the $4 trillion is just the tip of the iceberg. He's going to roll back the Trump's tax cuts, which contributed to a great rise in the middle class. And there's going to be a whole lot of middle class people that will go back down to poverty level. He wants a national mask mandate and a lockdown, both of which would further crush the economy. And then there's going to be people rebelling and probably going to jail for refusing to stay under house arrest and refusing to wear a mask when they have sex, as one of their experts has recommended. Can you believe that? I see people, they frighten them so much that people are driving down the road in a car with the windows up, the air conditioning on, and they're by themselves and they're wearing a mask. Yeah. It's crazy. Under Biden, gold will rise dramatically and quickly for the reasons above, but also because, we've been growing the national debt by about $1 trillion a year since Obama was elected. Under Biden, it's going to be at least $2 trillion, very possibly $3 trillion a year. And the economy just can't handle that, especially with more taxes and less productivity. So even if we don't have a crash, gold is going to go up a lot. And if the dollar crashes, gold will go to $20,000 an ounce. So under Biden, that's what the country looks like. The country being eaten alive by the national debt, which will increase in huge measure. Trump wins. Well, of course, the Trump tax cuts are going to stay in force, and there'll probably be more tax cuts because that's one of the ways that you revive an economy. The economic recovery, I think, will even be greater than the previous amazing growth we saw under him. I mean, if you think about it, he did so well for the economy, like no president has done in at least the last 50, 60 years. And it may be like he says, sometimes he exaggerates, but he said no president ever has had such growth. That could well be true. But regardless, if it wasn't for the China virus, he would have had another huge electoral win like he did last time. I can't remember the exact number of electoral votes, but it wasn't even close.
Some guy that I follow on Twitter just posted something. It says, does anyone really believe that Joe Biden got millions more votes than Barack Obama did in his landslide first term? The answer is no.
This is why they want to drag the counting out, Dwayne, because if they see themselves losing, they'll just manufacture more votes. They probably have hundreds of thousands of those fake ballots printed up and filled in and ready to drop. I mean, there was one drop of votes. I can't remember which state it was. There's 50,000 votes, and every one of them was for Biden.
Right.
Not a single one for Trump. What are the odds of that? Even in Washington, D.C., some people voted.
Impossibility,
yeah. So gold will continue to rise under Trump because the national debt will still keep going up, and inflation will continue as it is, but it just won't be as dramatically, except if some of you have been following what I've been writing and my videos and so on the gold standard. I believe that he's going to try very hard to return us to the gold standard, because if he doesn't, China's going to beat us to it. And if the Chinese yuan is backed by gold before we move, they become the world reserve currency with all of the benefits that go with that. I mean, it's one of the things that helped make us very prosperous since 1944, when it went from the British pound being the world reserve currency to the U.S. dollar, because we had most of the gold in the world. If China beats us, it's going to be very, very bad. If we beat China, then the price of gold will go up a whole lot, because in order to back every dollar that we printed with a little bit of gold that we have, we used to have 15,000 tons of gold in this country. And if you believe what they tell you, we've only got 7,000 tons left. It sounds like a lot, you know. I'd like to have a ton of gold. Don't know where I'd put it, but it'd be cool.
We talked about this big discovery in Siberia, right?
Yes.
Last time,
yeah.
Last week, yeah. Okay.
And the Russians and the Chinese are both really actively mining for gold. We're not being near as aggressive about that in this country. But if we do get on the gold standard, then they would have to revalue gold. And by my calculations, it'd be about $42,500 an ounce. I've seen some economists that are saying $50,000 to $80,000 an ounce. I'd be happy with any of those numbers, personally, as much gold as I have. So that's what would happen with Trump.
Wedding ring.
Yep. I mean, people will be selling their jewelry, whatever. But
maybe some of them kids that take the rings out of their nose.
And their tongue studs. It always grosses me out when you see these people have a stud in their tongue. You know, gracious me. Anyway, a Trump win means that America wins. We become more prosperous. We dig out from under this attack by China, and we do well.
Of course, I agree, but we're not talking about a Biden election. We're talking about a Kamala Harris election.
Yeah, no doubt. In a lot of my articles, I refer to that as a Harris-Biden administration, because both of them have said that publicly, and slip of the tongue. But the Bible says, "Out of the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks." Some people call it a Freudian slip. I call it a biblical slip. She referred to that.
If they win, he will be sent back to his basement, told to behave.
Yep.
Don't say stupid stuff. Don't answer any questions.
They'll let him sit in the big chair every once in a while and do a few news conferences. And then my prediction is within 3 to 6 months, they'll tell him, "Okay, it's time for you to retire, Joe." And, I don't want to retire. I'm having fun. Well, retire for health reasons or 25th Amendment, because just like they made him take Harris as a running mate, that was not his choice. No way. I mean, this woman stood on national television in a debate and called him a rapist, a racist, a serial liar, and he hates her guts.
Yeah,
there's no way that they're both pretty terrible people, but she is the single most liberal person in the Senate. So I mean, she would never have made it through the primary process because she only got 2% of the Democrat vote, so she had to back out. But they made Biden take her as his running mate. They're also going to tell him who's going to be on his cabinet, which will be his undoing, because the vice president and a majority of the cabinet can remove the president. And so he knows that. I mean, he's got enough of his mind left where he realizes that. So rather than being removed in disgrace, he will resign. And then Harris will appoint her own vice president. The U.S. populace will have no say in it whatsoever. It'll take a simple majority vote of Congress to approve. And now you've got 2 socialists in the White House. She may even put Bernie Sanders in as her vice president. Wouldn't that be a treat? So, a contested election.
And what a madcap cast of zany characters will be in that cabinet.
Yeah, you've got the fake Mexican, the Irish guy, Beto O'Rourke. You got the fake Indian that will probably be in there, Elizabeth Warren. You've got several fake human beings. It would be the weirdest cabinet the United States has ever had. There'd be all kinds of Muslims in there, and homosexuals, and you name it. People that the vast majority of American people would not want as people that control our country. But that would be a Biden cabinet. Okay, so a contested election. This would even be worse than Biden winning outright, because it would drag things out. It would exacerbate the hatred and the division in the country. And look, folks, if there's anything we need right now, it's the Prince of Peace running the country, because we're heading towards civil war of one kind or another.
They're going to come for your guns if Kamala takes the chair.
Yeah, because Biden has already said that he's going to put O'Rourke in charge of gun control. So.
Who we all remember his famous statement: "I'm coming for your guns."
Yeah. So if the thing goes to court, and it'll be court after court after court, and goes on forever, to me it's not a question of if there's a contested election, because it's already happening. But I wrote this before the election. It's a matter of how long. The longer it lasts, the more uncertainty. And you know what happens when things are scary? They call gold the fear index. You'll see gold go a lot higher.
The flight to safety and all that.
Yeah, people used to go to the U.S. dollar for safety, but I mean, we've lost our AAA credit rating. All three of the major rating agencies took us down from AAA at one point.
Right.
And now the vast majority of the treasuries that are being bought are not being bought by Americans. We stopped buying them as a whole years ago. The largest American bond fund, PIMCO, stopped buying U.S. treasuries totally for, I think it was 3 years. And that was their main business, buying U.S. treasuries. They started buying treasuries from other countries. And it's been mostly foreign buyers, but the two biggest were China and Japan. Well, China's not buying our treasuries anymore. They've got so many of them now. They're the largest holder of U.S. treasuries in a foreign nation. They could crash our economy just by selling all their treasuries. I mean, they don't have to shoot rockets at us or send troops over here. Yeah. I mean, they have so much power over us that people just can't imagine it, but it's there. So this is what the Bush-Gore election looked like. Famous picture. Yeah. And I was there. I was a Republican observer to make sure they didn't cheat on it. And I have a whole baggie of those Chads, a little historical artifact. But the whole thing was so ridiculous. Somebody asked me on my radio program the other day if Florida's still using the Chads. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, within months after that, we were a national embarrassment. The whole thing was so stupid that before the midterm elections, we totally changed our way of voting. So, but anyway, that's what happened in Bush-Gore. There was all the recounts, then followed by all the court challenges, and then eventually it was decided by the Supreme Court. So if we do have a long, protracted process like this, the winner will definitely be gold. Eventually, either Trump will keep the keys to the White House, or he will have to pass them over to Biden, which I'm praying and I'm believing will not be the case. I just can't imagine somebody like him and an out-and-out socialist like Harris running our country. Okay, I was talking about the fact that, because I did this on our webinar Monday night, the fact that voting is not optional. For Christians, it's not optional, because we actually can determine the election. If more Christians had come out, things would have been a whole lot different. But just some real quick statistics: 65% of regular churchgoers vote Republican. 80% of people that describe themselves as born again or evangelicals vote Republican. But on the other hand, 70% of the atheists, agnostics, and people with no religious affiliation vote Democrat, and almost 100% of Muslims vote Democrat. So that tells you the power that Christians have. The one thing I wish people would really get, though, is that we don't have the luxury of voting, for somebody that we like. If you're a Christian, you have to vote the Bible. There's a good article up at Conservative Truth right now, if anybody'd like to read it, on voting the Bible. It's too late now. I mean, the votes are already in, and it's a matter of the counting and making sure that there aren't a whole bunch of manufactured votes. But remember, in every election, don't worry about what's good for your pocketbook. This guy will give me more free stuff, or this guy will lower my taxes, or this guy seems like a nice guy, or this guy seems like a bad guy. It's the party. And if you look at the party platform, frankly, I don't see any way a born-again Christian who believes in the Bible could vote for a party who one of their main goals is all abortion. They call it pro-choice. I call it what it is, pro-death. And just that one thing is enough to determine if I vote. But another is religious freedom. This crazy guy, Gavin Newsom, in California.
Did you know that he's Pelosi's nephew?
Yes. He comes by his dishonesty, honestly, being part of that family. But if anybody's listening that lives in California, you have my sympathies. This guy's threatening Christians with arrest if they go to church. And if you do go to church, you only have this small number of people, and you're not allowed to sing. And if you break any of his little rules, $1,000 a day fines, and yet they have huge parades for sports people and so on that win, and all of that's allowed.
And
now the latest is
2 people for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you can only invite 2 people over for Thanksgiving, and your Thanksgiving celebration has to be limited to 2 hours. I mean, when you go to somebody's house for Thanksgiving, there's prep, there's talking, there's football games, there's eating, there's trying to digest and talk some more because you want to go back and have some room for dessert. I mean, it's easy an 8-hour day, for most people for Thanksgiving.
There's a term that
and he says,
go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Well, he's saying 2 hours. I mean,
there's a term we used to use, doesn't mean much anymore. It's called being a public servant. Natalka in the audience said, until people can figure out, which you need common sense for that government politicians are supposed to be our servants, not our masters, that we are the masters and they are our servants, and treat them as servants, it will never change. Politicians believe that they become kings and queens when elected. They need reality checks where they can be fired immediately instead of waiting 4 years or however long for whatever job. It's just...
Hey, Natalia,
I had heard that term used, public servant. I have heard that used. As a kid, you used to hear it all the time.
Yeah, because they don't think of it that way. Hardly anybody ever goes to Washington that doesn't come back a millionaire, even if they only serve 1 2-year term in the House. But Natalia, I love what you said. You're probably a great writer, and I'm always looking for writers for Conservative Truth. So contact me through the website, CFRNGold.com. And by the way, folks, that's where you go to get the Gold Education Starter Package to learn how to avoid the scams that are going on. Chinese are printing millions and millions of fake gold coins. Where you can buy precious metals, how you can get the best deals on it, and so on. So that's the Gold Education Starter Package, CFRNGold.com. Or you could just go there to contact me. And like I said, Natalia, I'd like to see if you write anything, or if you're interested in writing, because the way you phrase that. And my telephone number is 561-753-5998. 561-359-98.
Meanwhile, Arizona approved marijuana for recreational use. Oregon decriminalized all hard drugs. It's going to be a real boom for their tourist industry. People go to Oregon, do a little heroin for the weekend, go back to Idaho, late Sunday evening.
But it's going to spread to other states. That's the big problem. As soon as they legalized marijuana in Colorado, the surrounding states started having more deaths from marijuana drunk driving,
Well,
so
we've had medical marijuana for quite a number of years here in Arizona, and we knew eventually that it would probably pass, and so it did. But this thing in Oregon really surprised me. Now,
because it's not just recreational users, Dwayne.
Huh?
It's not just recreational users, even pushers. If they don't have over a certain amount of hard drugs when they're caught, they're falling under the same exemption. They pay a fine or something like that, no jail time.
In what state are you
pushers.
talking about? Which state are you referring to?
And from what I've read about Oregon.
Well, no, Oregon, they decriminalized possession and personal use, LSD, heroin, methamphetamines, Oxycontin, fentanyl. It's no longer illegal.
Okay, so personal use. Because I was hearing one commentator saying that even pushers would get by. I guess the reason is they probably put a certain number of grams, and even a drug pusher, if he makes sure he doesn't carry more than that number, he could just say it's for personal use.
I don't know the fine points of the law, but
it's just another slide down the slippery slope,
If I Google Oregon and drugs, let's see what I get. Come on. Drugs. Oregon decriminalizes possession of hard drugs. Oh,
yeah. Dwayne,
I hit a paywall. You got to go, right?
If you'll excuse me, I have a hard break here. I've got to get on a conference call like 1 minute ago. So
right,
it's been great being with you. I'm sorry to have to cut things short today, but love you, brother. Bless you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. There we go. So this drug business, I keep hitting paywalls. And this site doesn't like my ad blocker. So I'll just keep looking. Thanks to voters, Oregon will be the first state in the country to decriminalize the personal possession of all drugs, including heroin and cocaine. Oregonians passed ballot measure 110 with 59% of the vote. It's the most far-reaching of numerous successful drug-related measures on ballots nationwide, including the legalization of recreational marijuana in New Jersey, Arizona, Montana, and South Dakota. And LSD, oxycodone, methamphetamine. I didn't see this coming. The measure completely changes how Oregon's justice system treats those who are found with personal use amounts of the hard drugs. Instead of going to trial and facing possible jail time, a person would have the option of paying a $100 fine or attending new addiction recovery centers funded by millions of dollars of tax revenue from Oregon's legalized, regulated marijuana industry. They have more marijuana in Oregon now. It's like they're practically giving it away. They can't transport it across state lines, not legally, and there's just a glut. It's pot everywhere. Passage of the measure makes Oregon, which in 1973 became the first state to decriminalize marijuana possession. Now, I lived in Portland for a few years. I didn't realize they had decriminalized it way back in 73. Now they're trying the same with hard drugs. The measure takes effect 30 days after Tuesday's election, but the punishment changes don't take effect until February 1st. Addiction recovery centers won't be available until October 1st. It may sound like a radical concept, but the initiative's backers said making criminals out of drug users, locking them up and burdening them with criminal records that make it difficult to find housing and jobs wasn't working. While this approach is new in the United States, several countries, including Portugal, the Netherlands, and Switzerland, have already decriminalized possession of small amounts of hard drugs. Portugal's 2000 decriminalization brought no surge in drug use. Drug deaths fell, while the number of people treated for drug addiction in the country rose 20%. And I don't think this is good, folks. Now, back to the market. Got a Fed announcement coming, 2 p.m. Eastern. Get ready for that. Guess that's 15 minutes away. I have to get, 8 months out of the year, and I got to mentally count 3 hours ahead. Now for 4 months, I count 2 hours ahead. I'll spend the first month remembering it's 2 hours, not 3, and then just about the time I get the hang of the 2, it'll go back to the 3. But that's where gold is. The Concierge Trade Alert, 1908. Okay. Now, along with the Concierge Trade Alert, we also have, of course, the Concierge Trade Alerts, which I've already shown you. But they go together like a hand and a glove. Now, this one was put out this morning at 8:58 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Gold 52 to 54. It's $200 per contract. These others haven't triggered. The NQ did trigger, $2,240 per contract traded. That was published 5:40 p.m. Mountain Standard Time yesterday. Buy 11,875, initial target 11,885, final trade 2 target, weekly trading zone 12,000/12,001. 2,000. You got in at the entry and got out at the exit, $2,200 per contract traded. There's a hedge on the Dow, 380 per contract. Here's a long on the ES, $1,162.50 per contract traded. Silver, $250. Gold, $80. She didn't tally that one. $475 per contract traded. Now, if you have struggled to learn how to trade, Maybe you've blown up a few accounts, you've joined a few chat rooms, you've followed a few gurus, and it just isn't happening. We do things very differently. We don't have any gimmicks or parlor tricks, no magic act. We simply teach you how to trade. Teach you how to read the chart like a newspaper so that you can sit down in front of any chart at any time and make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to what the next high probability move will be. I know that all the other places you tried, well, they gave you the impression that they could know the future, but God didn't create the universe that way. He didn't give us the ability to change the past or know the future, and those two things are inextricably linked for eternity. However, what you can know, if you learn our methodology and our strategy, you can know with great certainty what the next high probability move is. And how does that work out? Well, a little something like this. So far this week, 58 total alerts in logic, 42 actionable, 5 stopped out. Now again, that 12%, that's not typical. What we've averaged over the last 118 weeks is 20%. So if you want to become a part of the family, you want to learn how to trade, Michael will teach you each day the methodology, the strategy, how to use the indicators. The cost of a lifetime passport, that's everything we have, everything we do, forever, till the end of time, is $5 grand, $49.97. Many choose to go that route. But because of the economy, the pandemic, the financial stress on so many households, it's not possible to pay it all up front. So I never thought we would actually do this, but we wanted to do something, and so you could pay $97 a week to earn enough money to buy your lifetime passport. It's that simple. And you don't ever have to pay us another dime. There's no other fees involved of any kind. So, where do you go? Emini Futures Trading.com. Everything you need to know is on this page. If you wake up every day with a knot in your stomach, worried that today's the day you're going to blow up your account, blow up your business, blow up all your hard work, you can't live that way. You got to set yourself free. Learn how to trade. You see, the goal is to actually teach you how to do what I do. Okay? We teach you how to do this, so at some point, once you've learned the methodology, you've learned the strategy, you don't need me to give you an alert. Because if you look at a chart, you'll see it with my eyes. You'll think about it the way I think about it. And you'll take the action that I would take. Teach everybody the exact same thing. And you know what? It's very simple. Our methodology is incredibly simple compared to so much stuff out there. I've seen so complicated, convoluted, expensive. We have students now that have paid. Some have paid in drips and drabs over the years, $20, $30, $40, $50,000. We have some students who went to one particular place. Some paid $27,000, some paid $50,000. It's real interesting. They were just sued by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, for their acts. But when you applied for their program, to see if you qualified They had you list all your assets. So they knew what you were worth. How much your home was worth, how much savings you had in the bank, how much debt you had. Now, this was all under the premise of you qualifying to be accepted into their program. It was to determine what price point they were going to pitch you. And there's a lot of laws that say that's wrong. So my heart goes out to all those who are taken advantage of. Now, all of the students who came from that particular place, they learned a lot about markets. They come to us. I hear the same thing again and again. Yeah, oh yeah, I know what that is. Sure, They understand the basic idea of trading and what a trend line is and blah, blah, blah. They just never taught them how to trade. They taught them about trading, but they didn't teach them how to trade. So, ball is in your court. If you want to join us, you're a mouse click away. EminiFuturesTrading.com. Trading's not easy, but it can be simple. That's simple. Let's look at the S&P again. Yeah, just everything just rolling sideways into this Fed announcement. Yes, never took out that trend line on the daily. Silver just off the high of the session. All right, let's go to our good word for the day. Now, Tom used a term when he was talking about what percentage of Christians vote, and he used the term that I'm sure you're all familiar with, the born-agains, the evangelicals, right? Now, that's the environment I was raised in, Pentecostal holiness, as a child. And, of course, as I became a man, I had to go see the world, but thank God I've come home. But anyway, John 3:7 says, you must be born again. We all know the story, the original Nick at Night. Nicodemus, he came to Jesus under the cover of darkness and said, what I got to do to get into heaven? He said, you must be born again. You're a believer. I know you're familiar with the scripture. There was an Anglican clergyman, George Whitefield, who was just as much responsible for the transformation of England as well as the Great Awakening in America as John and Charles Wesley. In a letter to Benjamin Franklin, who delighted in coming to hear Whitefield speak, he said, as I find you growing more and more famous in the learned world, I would recommend to your diligent and unprejudiced study the mystery of the new birth. It is a most important study, and when mastered, will richly answer all of your pains. I bid you, my friend, remember that one at whose bar we shall both presently appear, hath solemnly declared that without it we shall no wise see his kingdom. Being born again is simply about getting a new heart. And that was a very wise recommendation, or a heart change. It's a better way of expressing it. you literally do become a different person. Old things fall away. The vulgarity just seems to fall from your lips. Now, this was a very wise recommendation to Franklin, a man who is noted in the history of the world as being wise. Jesus said, "You must be born again." And there has never been a person who earnestly sought the new birth and didn't find it. Even the fact that we seek is created by the Spirit of God. That's in John 6:44. So if there's anyone in the audience who isn't a believer, you haven't experienced being born again, maybe you have a life that feels somewhat empty. You wonder about your purpose. Or maybe you're just tired of the filthy rags of your own righteousness. The question becomes, are you willing to trust someone other than yourself? If so, look to the cross of Christ. Place your trust in Him. Ask Him to come in, to be born in you today. You can be born once and die twice. But if you're born twice, you'll only die once. In John 3:36, Jesus said, "He who believes in the Son has everlasting life, and he who does not believe the Son shall not see life." Now, let me share one last little thing. I have seen this practiced in the Christian church since I was a young child. Your brother-in-law, your neighbor, your co-worker, if you can just get them to church, if you can just drag them to church just one time, and then once you get them there, if you can just drag them up to the altar and get them to recite an incantation, hallelujah, they're going to heaven. It's not like that. It's not about that. Sadly. I'm sure most of you at some point in your relationship with Christ, you have reached out to others. You have invited them to church. And perhaps they did answer the altar call. And most churches these days don't even do altar calls. When I was a kid going to church, he would preach for an hour and then might have another hour of altar call. And we were a very small church, same 50 people every Sunday. I remember sitting on the just, wasn't he up there 2 weeks ago? So it isn't about saying certain words. It's about accepting the fact that God is the creator of the universe, that Jesus did come to earth in the form of a man, and that he did die on the cross for your sins. It's that belief that causes the change of heart. It's not saying the certain words in a certain order. It's surrender. God, I surrender my life to you. It's yours. Take it. I can see what my own actions have brought me. I prefer that your will be done in my life. You come before God with a broken and contrite spirit. He'll answer your call. You may not hear lightning. The earth may not shake. You may not hear the voice of Charlton Heston. But you'll know the difference. You'll know something's changed. You'll see the world with new eyes. And then it's an experience. It's ongoing as you build this relationship with the Creator. If you ever need to talk, just call us 949-42 Emini. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.